Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, one cruise line just bought all the other cruise line ships, or pretty much all of them. We also have an update on those 8 passengers stranded in Africa, and boy, has there been a debate going on about who's right and who's wrong and the morality, and wow. So recently, the American Queen River Cruise Company went and filed for bankruptcy, and they have those are those famous paddle wheel steam that you might see in cities that are on the rivers that these will traverse. Well, American Cruise Line, the other huge riverboat conglomerate here in North America, well, they bought all 4 of those paddle wheel vessels. So now you'll start to see those vessels sailing on their cruise lines as soon as they refurbish them a little bit to be more along their style and their way of doing things. It also makes me wonder, I'm really hoping that those crew members that were laid off when this all just came down on one day, by the way, you're gone. That's how it turned out. There's no more sailings after today. Goodbye, everybody. That's it. They were done. Well, it would be really nice if those crew members now were able to get their jobs back with the other cruise line. Let's fingers crossed. Let's hope that's a good situation and a resolving situation for those folks. Next, I want to talk to you one more time about those passengers who were stranded in Africa. Boy, people have been talking about this. It is, if you open up and you type in cruise news and you search for the past 24 hours and you look at 20 pages of stories, maybe 10 of them aren't about that, but the rest are. And everyone's chiming in from Australian news to Japan, you name it, people are talking about it. Obviously, YouTubers like myself have been covering this. I know Tony's covered it, I know Jay's covered it. Pretty much everybody's talking about it, right? Because this is big news in the cruise industry when people get left behind like this, when they are kind of torn, right? People are torn between, yes, the cruise line had every right to do it, they didn't get back on time, and unfortunately, too bad, so sad, you just didn't make it. However, there are extenuating circumstances. The tour operator was in touch with the ship, stating that passengers are on their way back. They did arrive while the ship was still there, still anchored, and it wasn't taking up a dock space. It was out in the water. They had to tender back and forth. So would it have been that much of a difficulty? I'm not sure about how much docking fees compared to being at a dock there are to being out in the water and anchored. Is the docking fee the same? Is the time the same? I know the pilot taking you in and out of the port would be the same, and your time to leave and everything and your time in port is all charged. The cruise lines all have to pay that. So it is a financial thing for them to wait for late passengers. But one of those passengers ended up in hospital. One of those passengers is 80 years old. One of those passengers is pregnant. And people say, well, they should have got back on time. Yeah, but it wasn't, they didn't run late. It wasn't like they were lollygagging and shopping, right? Oh, I was shopping and I lost track of time or anything. The tour operator got back late and kept on, rest assured, we're in touch with the ship and we're going to get you there. That tour operator, yeah, they have a lot to account for. All of this mess. They did not run this tour properly. And no one has mentioned the name of that tour operator. For obvious reasons, they'd probably go bankrupt, because who would book a tour with those operators and take a chance now on missing your cruise, right? So I haven't heard a single report about which tour operator that was. But I bet you that tour operator also runs many of the ship run tours that are there. That's how it normally works. They run their own, plus they book the ship shore excursions as well. And so that's not going out because guess what? The ship also probably uses that tour operator for their jaunts with everybody, and they don't want to sully the name of a tour operator that they're using as well. But wow, so much controversy. Now, they did, people were left with the credit cards that weren't working. People had medication missing. People were elderly, couldn't get around. One straight out of hospital had a stroke while they were there. Well, they finally got to the next port where the ship was supposed to go, and well, the tide was too low, so the cruise ship couldn't get in. They said, but don't worry, just meet us at the next one. I know it's in another country, right? And you need new visas and new documentation to get there, but we'll meet you there. Now, they were stranded on Wednesday, and yesterday was Tuesday in Africa time, not North American time, and that makes 6 of the 21 days, and they've already spent 7 days at sea, which means there's only a week left in the cruise. And many of the passengers were saying, I just don't know if it's worth it anymore. Maybe we just go home, and the heck, and they are really, some of them just saying that Norwegian kind of abandoned them in this situation. And other people are saying, well, yeah, but it's still your responsibility. And that's absolutely true. It still is your responsibility. And yes, the cruise lines have to pay money to be in port. And yes, this happened. But you also sometimes have to look at the circumstances. Was this just somebody shopping and something happened and they just got back? Somebody who didn't switch their clock to the right time and are late getting back? Something that they made a mistake, that this was a group on a private tour that the tour operator goofed up. Was it their fault? Well, you can blame them for not taking a cruise ship shore excursion, but I bet you 50% of the ships don't do that. So yeah, but people are all blaming them as if it was their fault for getting back late. And what choice do you have when you're on this tour an hour and a half away from your destination and it's the tour operator who is late getting you back? You can't just hop off, look for a taxi, and hope they get you back when it's still going to be that length of time to drive you back. You're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I do sympathize with them in that case. But wow, the debate is going back and forth and back and forth, and I'm kind of on, it's an unfortunate situation, because it wasn't really their fault. It was a tour operator's mistake. The ship was right there and could have made an effort to get them back on board. But they chose finance over their clients and their customers, in a way, right? That's if it didn't cost them money to be on there, if it didn't cost them port fees, if it didn't cost them any money, they would have waited. But it cost them money, so they chose money. And I'm afraid that that's the narrative that people come away with when they're thinking negatively about the cruise line. The cruise line chose money over their guests. Personal well-being, safety, health, enjoyment. And that's where it becomes murky, right? Very, very murky. Because Norwegian probably wouldn't be the only cruise line to do that. John Heel came out and said, yeah, you know what? We would have probably done the exact same thing on Carnival. And I bet you most cruise lines would have done the same thing. But I know personally a few captains out there that really would have had a hard time leaving if a tour operator contacted them, or the Coast Guard or the dock contacted them and said, passengers are here, the tour was late getting back, would have had a hard time leaving. It does come down finally to the captain and the corporation's final say. And now the news to be all end all at the end of this is they got back on the ship. Now, how would you like to be the captain in a captain's meet and greet on that ship with these 8 passengers now? Wow. Talk about awkward. Just talk about awkward. Is there any questions from the audience? Yeah. Why did you leave us in port, you dirtbag? You see how that would go? Especially, you know, the 80-year-old lady would just come out with that. You know, she would not hold back because she just would not care. Oh man, I would almost pay money to be there to see the awkwardness in that situation. It's one of those things like you just can't look away. You just can't look away. But at least they're back on the ship. Maybe now things can settle down a little bit and we can just get back to enjoying our cruises. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.